Okay, for those of you watching live on the web right now, I'm Jay Avila with News 4 WOAI, also Fox 29 KBB here in San Antonio. We are at the San Antonio International Airport where there was a shooting a short time ago, and as you can see here on the upper level, we're looking down on the lower level of the airport that has been blocked off to traffic coming in. Now we sat on a long line of traffic to get here to the upper level, and that's where we are now. But it appears that down below is where the crime scene is. We have seen Police Chief William McManus down there, the FBI, ATF, and a huge police presence from San Antonio Police Department. We've also seen long lines of passengers, people who were trying to get in here to the upper level departure level. And it took them a long time to get here, but people are being allowed to enter the two terminals behind me, the departure terminals. But for at least a while there, everyone was sheltering in place, according to the TSA. We've been watching the lower level, which is partially roped off, appears to be a crime scene. We also see a lot of San Antonio police vehicles. We see police officers. We've seen some active interviews of witnesses, people who obviously saw something, gesturing erratically, but we're just too far away to hear what people are saying about this incident. We're waiting for details from the San Antonio Police Department to get a briefing, a news media briefing. We've been waiting for quite some time. But we did see the police chief down there. Early on, quite some time ago, the police department tweeted out that there was no ongoing threat to the public, and so as soon as we got here, we knew that it was a scene that was over, but it was still just a traffic nightmare. Continues to be that right now. Obviously, they're telling anyone who doesn't need to be around the airport area to not be here, but there are folks who have no choice. They came here to catch a flight. You can even see as our photographer moves over to the other side of the traffic lanes here at the airport. You can see outside the terminal, on the sidewalk there, a long line of people trying to get in, get through security. Obviously, during this period, normal operations were suspended. It's unclear whether they have resumed at this time. All we can see is the long line, which doesn't seem to have moved. I'm seeing the same people. We've been over here, haven't had a chance to go over and talk to any of the people who have been in line, because we have been so focused on the crime scene below, trying to kind of make sense of whether there's a vehicle down there, whether it's just a crime scene. We wondered that about whether a vehicle was down there, because we did see a number of tow trucks that were coming in under police escort. So we figured that there might be a suspect vehicle that had to be hauled off, but very little activity down below other than the interviewing of witnesses, and you can tell law enforcement agencies basically briefing each other on this situation. There is the TSA that we checked in with. They kind of deferred when we asked them to the city airport department, saying that they would be handling most issues related to this, certainly as far as access, and you know that they're coordinating with police. So at this time, the lower level of the San Antonio International Airport completely blocked off. No one's getting in there. This is where you would normally come to pick up arrivals. That is where the activity seems to be centered, and you're looking right now off the second level of the airport down onto all those police vehicles that are still parked there, along with FBI and some ATF officials. We will continue to let you know what we see here, but we're just not getting a lot of facts. Certainly we're not being briefed, but it's pretty clear here that there's a big disruption for people who have to use the airport today, and we're just waiting to see exactly how bad this incident was. Now, it took us about, I would say, a half an hour to get up here. There was such great traffic starting probably a good half mile, 3/4 of a mile away from the airport. This is right off of a major highway in San Antonio, 281, of course. And just right at the entrance where you would normally come into the airport, that's where everything starts to be blocked off. But we were a little surprised to see that they were still letting people, by the time we arrived anyway, come onto this upper level for people to catch flights. But once they get out of their vehicle, unfortunately, it's pretty much a standstill. They're all sitting there in that long line, and there's not much that they can do. I'm just kind of peering over. I can see the police chief, William McManus, down there, along with the other law enforcement. And they're in the middle of their investigation. And as I mentioned, briefing everyone on the way up. We got the word shortly before 3 that there had been an incident near the airport. It wasn't immediately clear whether it was at the airport. And so we started our way over here and immediately hit that traffic. We're waiting for that briefing. And in the meantime, for those of you not familiar with the airport, of course, it's separated into a A and a B terminal. And it's also separated into the upper and the lower levels, the lower level being where you come to pick up passengers. That's where all the activity is focused right now. It's right in between the terminals and the parking. So now we're kind of pivoting over a little bit, getting a look at the long line of people waiting in line to get into Terminal B here at San Antonio International Airport. A short time ago, that police unit out front pulled up, and a canine got out with a Tandler, and they went inside into the terminal, but they didn't appear to be in any particular rush. And most likely they were heading inside, possibly to take an inside stair or perhaps escalator down to the lower level. Or they could be checking out both levels at this point just to make sure that it is all safe. Of course, you would think that with them actually allowing passengers to be able to go inside the doors of the terminal. We see a little bit of movement of the line, but it's unclear whether they're letting people actually go through security or in any way board planes. So we'll turn our attention again to down below on the lower level, where you can see crime scene tape way off in the distance. That would be the lower level, closer to really the Terminal A area. That seems to be where the crime scene tape is up, although it does extend to a certain extent down to the other terminal. We saw a number of people being interviewed when we first got here, but for the most part now it seems mostly law enforcement down there. We had to sit in traffic for so long that we noticed as we were approaching the airport that there were people getting out of their vehicles with their luggage and were walking to the terminal hoping that they could make their flight and get inside. When they get here, all they're facing though is a very long line. Now, we did have an incident earlier today here in San Antonio where there was a shooter who was actually firing shots from an upper level of an interchange here in San Antonio, 1604-281, I believe, and where the big question, obviously, is there a relation? SAPD sources are saying that this may be the same shooter from earlier on the highway. So still very puzzling as to what the connection is here. Whenever we have these types of incidents, the big question is, are we dealing with one individual? Or are we dealing with more than one? Earlier there was one individual who was on top of that highway overpass firing shots. We're waiting to see for sure. Sorry about that. We're kind of making it up as we go along here since we are waiting for the briefing. We might get something soon because there's Police Chief Bill McManus. He appears to be getting into his vehicle. But from our vantage point here, basically all we can see is the crime scene and law enforcement officials huddling up and discussing the situation. All right, we've moved up a little here, and you can see Police Chief William McManus is getting into his vehicle. Appears ready to depart, and that would most likely mean that we're getting close to getting an official briefing. From where his vehicle is, you can see FBI officials, ATF officials, city officials there as well. So this, again, is the police chief's vehicle driving off, presumably to go brief the news media and let us all know the details of this incident at the San Antonio International Airport this afternoon. With him was Chris Combs of the FBI, Special Agent in Charge. We have seen a large FBI presence here. So obviously they're working together in advance of making some kind of public briefing here. The staging area where they'll be doing the briefing is a short distance away from the airport at the entrance. And we are, of course, across from Terminal B, looking down on what appears to be the crime scene.
we were stuck outside, and then we came.
You weren't inside.
No, But I don't know. Was it the same guy that was on the bridge at 281 and 1604?
We're waiting to hear that. We're about to get
Yeah.
Can I ask you, what was it like inside just now?
Oh, inside there, it's kind of crazy, but I mean, it's expected, you know.
Were you catching a flight today?
We were coming in to catch a flight. Our flight's been delayed now. This is the line to get into the TSA for the check-in. So
Were they letting anybody go through?
not yet. They haven't opened up the checkpoint yet. So
We're at a standstill.
yeah.
So you didn't hear or see anything because you got here after everything happened.
Yeah, when we got to the airport, they had the roads blocked off and they were detouring everybody away. And then they finally started letting traffic in to come check in for your flights. So,
Have you been told anything about when everything will resume?
no, we have not.
All right. Thanks for your time. I hope you get your flight out of here
Yeah,
tonight.
thank you, sir.
All righty.